Hello and welcome to Upstage Downstage.
With me, Richard Platt, seated in the upper circle.
And me, Stephen Rees, seated in a cheap seat. This is the Theatre Podcast, where we discuss productions we've seen, things we've liked and may not have liked, giving our complete unprofessional and non-biased opinions.
So grab a brew, take a seat and let's raise that curtain.
On today's edition of the Theatre Podcast, we have a special episode where I shall be interviewing Richard as he discusses his recent trip to the West End, covering 5 shows in 1 week. Richard, you must be mad, if not knackered.
Well, just a little bit. I never get tired. Hear my take on some of the current big and small productions, such as Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, Bonnie and Clyde, Dear Evan Hansen, Cabaret, and finally Anne Juliet.
So, with all that said, I think it's time to set the scene. Finally, we have one play left, and I must say I've kept this back specifically to probably anger people. Listen to all that twaddle just to get to probably this bit, which a lot of people are fans of this. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I'm going to say it now, I wouldn't go and see this simply because I just don't watch Harry Potter. I'm not bothered. It's just not for me. Yeah.
However, have read all the books and
yeah.
know it inside out, upside down.
You're a big Potter fan.
Yeah. It's been one that's been on my list to go and see for a very long time. And after the pandemic, I thought, you know what? It's time.
Yeah.
So,
and what did you tell me? It's like a 5-hour show. So it's
5.5.
5 and. Ooh, grab your handbag. So 5.5. So a whole day in the theatre of watching a load of wizardry.
And
oh,
when I say it's 5 hour show, it's actually 2 parts. It's 2 hours 40 for each part,
right,
with an interval and a 2 hour break in between. So it's basically a matinee and a night performance on one day.
I'd be asleep.
Well, you say that.
I'd be like Tom Daly with me knitting, flask of coffee, front row, sleeping bag. No, in fact, I wouldn't even be on the front row.
Well,
I'd be in the cheapest seats. Where are they?
They're right up the top in the gods.
That'd be me. I'd be falling asleep there. Nudge me if something happens.
Okay, so I'm going to bore you now. I'm going to talk. We saw this. We didn't see this because you wouldn't see it. I certainly
didn't see it, and I certainly wouldn't see it again.
I saw this production at the Palace Theatre in
right.
London, in Soho, and I will bore you on actually what happens in this production. So
you will?
Yeah, I'm going to.
Oh.
Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is the most awarded play in history. One of the most defining pop culture events of a decade, and is also the 8th Harry Potter story, and it brings magic back to the West End.
Am I right in thinking there was only 7 books?
There was only 7 books, yeah. And J.K.
But one was a 2-parter, wasn't it?
Yes.
Was it? Yeah.
No, that was a film.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking about the books. The books are the 7 books,
but
the final film was split. The final film was split into 2.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I remember at the time I was working at Asda and they had someone just reading a chapter of the book. It was one of the new books read out, and he read the first chapter over like the tannoy, and I was stuck on the shelf thinking, shut up. Just dreary. It
was a moment in history, that book.
Yeah, but he wasn't like a really good reader. It was just drone.
Anyway, 19 years after Harry, Ron and Hermione saved the wizarding world, they're back on a most extraordinary new adventure.
Oh, I can't wait.
This time, joined by a brave new generation that's only just arrived at the legendary Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, prepare for spectacular spells, mind-blowing race through time and an epic battle to stop mysterious forces, all while the future hangs in the balance.
Was Maggie Smith in this?
No, but Mrs. McGonagall... But I can't remember where's that. But Professor McGonagall was in there. Sorry,
who?
Professor McGonagall.
Played by...
Maggie Smith.
Who?
It's not Maggie Smith, because I'm not being funny. Maggie Smith's getting old now.
She's
a legend,
yeah,
but she wouldn't be able to do a 5.5 hour production every day, would she?
No.
There you go. Okay, so shall I talk about this, or you going to want me to?
I know you want to. To be fair, what I will say is, I know J.K. Rowling as a writer, not personally, but I mean, she's done so much in terms of getting kids and young adults to read, be entertained by books.
I mean,
again, which I think's brilliant.
yeah. I mean,
fair.
anybody that's actually read the books, and if a child reads these books, their vocabulary will increase massively because the amount of words that.
Oh, I need to know some more adjectives.
Yeah, you do. There you go.
Maybe I need to start reading.
You need to start reading Harry Potter from the start.
The books are so thick, Richard.
They're not thick. They're all in small chapters, so you can pick them up and put them down.
Oh,
you can do this.
I don't know if I could.
You could try. Never say never. Okay, so
anyway,
when you walk into the theatre for your 5.5 epic battle, you're presented with what can only be described as a vintage St Pancras station, which is so impressive. It's built, and when you actually look at the making of the actual staging, is very, very almost identical to a picture of St Pancras from a long time ago.
Victorian era.
Yeah, very Victorian era.
I mean, I love that era.
Yeah.
Like the 19th.
Before mobile phones. Before communication methods.
I can remember all that, and I miss it so much. Although I'm glad I didn't have to walk around in candlelight.
Yeah, there is that.
Although it's really good for your complexion.
It is, yeah. Definitely.
You look a whole lot more attractive in it. Not you, I mean me.
So the production was basically, you're almost ready to go on a journey into
a train journey. Hogwarts Express.
And you're going to platform 9 3/4 and you're going to disappear into Hogwarts. So this was...
I do like the set, I must admit. I mean, I don't need to go and see it. I can see the set here.
Yeah, it is impressive.
You won't get me there, not for all my money.
But it's definitely a set that is set to...
It's exciting.
Almost draw you in, but you haven't got a clue what's going to happen because it doesn't give anything away.
I'm getting that.
It really gives nothing away as to what's actually going to happen on stage.
It's not drawing me into the theatre, but I'm intrigued. I like it.
There's lots of things hidden. I mean, I won't talk too much about this production because I think you have to see it to believe it.
Good.
So we won't need to be talking long about this production. Me.
Yeah. I'm doing my best to be positive.
The actual story is written by J.K. Rowling and it's been adapted with J.K. Rowling, Jack Thorne and John Tiffany, who created the stage play. So J.K. Rowling wrote the new story and it was been adapted for stage with her as part of the actual writing team. So you know that it's actually entrenched within that world.
Yeah.
And what can I say? The production and the casting, and I'm not going to talk about cast because I think that whoever performs in this has got to be on their game because it's how many
so
actors...
much to live up to.
There's so much pressure to be that.
Where's Ron, Thingybob and Harry?
Ron, Hermione and Harry.
Yeah, where are they? Because when Acorn Antiques came back, you had Duncan Preston, Celia Emery, Julie Walters, Victoria Wood. They came back.
Yeah, these haven't come back.
What are these three kids doing?
No, they're not coming back. Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, they're probably the right age now.
Well, exactly. Well, why couldn't they come and do it for the first bit of it?
I mean, they were around when it was launched, but they've not come back since.
Well, they should have done.
I know. I mean, it has been running for a few years now. So,
but when it first went out, they could have done it.
They could have, yeah.
Ignorant. Take the money and run. Go on. Does it live up to its hype and expectation for this being a mammoth task?
Yeah, I think it does. I was apprehensive when I actually went to see it because I thought, is this just going to blindside me just to fulfill a almost Warner Brothers audience that were expecting a production that was like the films? Or... Does
it work as a play if you haven't seen if you haven't read it or seen anything about it?
I think it does.
Does it work?
Yeah, because J.K. Rowling's got a very good way of, even in the books, if you picked up the middle book, you're reading a new story.
Yeah.
She does little moments in paragraphs in the way her writing style is, where it sets the scene, cliche.
Yeah.
Sets the scene at the start where she reminds you of what's happened in the past.
Yeah.
But we're now in a new story.
Yeah.
So it's
which is what good novelists
and that's
would do anyway.
It's really clever where you sort of think she's obviously thought of the reader. You're like, I need to be reminded of that, even if it's just a one-liner or something where it just puts you back on track, or it intrigues you to then read the previous book. You know, if you
I don't think it'd intrigue me to read any of the books. But
Well,
I know
yeah.
what you're saying.
But what I mean is the
right.
writer. If you pick up the wrong book, you're still reminded of things, and that's like this. It's a story that stacks up on its own, but there's elements within it that you would think, oh, just nip back and have a look at that, or I'll do that, or I'll go there.
Is there elements where she wrote it for the fans so they can go all gushy over it?
I think there's probably an element of that where she wrote it but then it's also probably an exciting concept to revisit, to write a play, and the only way to tell the final story or this story was to do it in a different medium.
So this is the final story.
Well, she says it is, but who knows? The world's always expanding. This is 19 years later.
So in other words,
it
depends how financially stable she is as to whether there's another book or not.
Yeah. However, I do think as a 2-play piece, it does stack up. I don't think it could be 1 play because it would be lost.
How did it feel having to spend the whole day in Hogwarts?
I loved it. It's brilliant.
Really?
Yeah, because there was enough going off in each half. Because the first half, this won't give anything away, but the first half ends very abruptly and very shocking.
Right.
And as you walk out of the theatre, everything changes that you thought was happening at the start of that play. So even the first half has an ending that leaves you for that next 2 hours going, what's happening?
Leave you wanting more.
But it really does cleverly leave you wanting more, and it almost punches you around the face, and then you go, okay, so now I've got to wait for 2 hours to find out what happens next. And I think that each half stands up on its own and is strong and powerful. So I think that's
Now I know you don't want to give too much away, but with you already describing the opening scene being St Pancras Station or whatever she's called it in a play, right? Does it go anywhere else? Do we still see the same structure, or is
all the way through the production you see this structure in the background? However, there's things hidden in it that, like, the big pillars at the side move to become trees, and then there's like so these move into the centres and become trees and
does
things.
it like
it's almost like clockwork. It's almost like the scenery is clockwork, and it's like it's all part of that. It's like St Pancras has basically become the set scene.
But does
setting.
it double up for being like the inside of, like, I don't know, the library of a grand hall?
It says Hogwarts. It becomes Hogwarts.
Yeah.
It basically becomes that as well, but also there's other things that happen where it's almost like if the play was being told in Hogwarts Station and they were using everything they could find around it, but then it does double up as those sort of grand halls, and they also use staircases and things on in the production where. So there was bookcases. They were in the side of so they used for like staircases and things. They had moving staircases on wheels that became one position, then another position, then another scene where there was under the staircase, which is a specific scene in the first Harry Potter film, and where Harry lives in the Dursleys' house. They created that again just by simply having the bed underneath the stairs, and it was very much similar to they created those moments where.
So revisiting the past of the first book where he was.
The whole production almost looks into the past, and it's all about the changes you can make in the past can change the future. A bit Doctor Who, a bit. It was very much in that world. Yeah. Where the choices you make can change the past and the future,
the
and
butterfly effect.
Yes, it was that sort of.
Like that. Okay.
Yeah, that's the sort of the easiest way to sort of describe it.
So what about like the direction? Was there anything spectacular about that? Was there anything that pointed out that this is a great technique or something that moments, or can you not give anything away here?
Well, there's certain scenes where it doesn't really give anything away, but the magic scenes and the movements, and there's some directing pieces where it's actually quite physical in some of the spells that are cast and things like that. There's movements where they lift cast members up and take them away into the darkness, but it's done in such a way that it's all very physical, and some of the props and scene changes that are done are used with all the cast members with big cloaks, and they wipe the cloaks over everything and run off with some set so it almost disappears. And there's all those sort of moments that there's that much happening, and it's hard to put 5 hours of a production into one, really.
Yeah.
I think that's the key.
Did they do anything special with? I suppose this is a technical thing, but when they're like flying around on the little broomsticks or whatever they're doing, did they do any of that? Like, is it not pyrotechnics? Is it?
There was
what are when you
levitating things that levitate,
Yeah.
movements.
Did they do any of that?
There was there's times where broomsticks float and stuff like that, but all of that is done really smoothly, and they do a lot of black stage work.
Yeah.
Where half of the stage is blacked out. So yes, in the start you see a lot of St Pancras at the back and stuff like that, but then they black all that out so it almost becomes mysterious, and then they've got a lot of light use where they distract your eyes from seeing all that other stuff, and they use a lot of projection mapping. So when there's movements or thuds on stage, the whole wall shake and the whole thing shake because they've got projection mapping that's reactive to the sound and light around it. So
now, what do you think about their performances?
I mean, it's non-stop piece of theatre.
Yeah.
They have to be on their game because they didn't stop.
I'm kind of thinking, if you haven't got the 3 core actors, right? I'm guessing you don't have any famous people in this. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, there's not
if
really
it's
anybody you
5
know.
hours,
However,
it's like 5.5 and 3/4.
in a way, it's good because I'm not going to say who they bring back, but they have different characters coming back that.
But not played by the actual actors.
No, not played by the actual actors, but the way they do they make them up and do them. I mean, not going to give anything away with this one, but Dumbledore appears in the paintings, and the way they put him in that setting is just really, really good and classic. It's really well done and very faithful to the films and what you imagine in the books. It's very, it's very specific, and they do it in such a way that's really is just smooth. I mean, as well, what other thing I would say, this isn't a musical, it's a play.
It's the only one you're actually talking about here.
Yeah, it's not actually a musical. It's but it's actually I'd say it's a well-written play, and you'd probably say it was more like War and Peace, but I can see why some people would see half of it and then go and see the next half, but I'm glad I've seen it all as one, so I can see it all in its entirety.
But you could easily watch one day and one the other.
You can book that. You can do that if you want to.
How long's it on for? Is it just constant?
It's just constantly on at the moment until I think it's going into May next year at the moment. So.
Oh, right, okay. So, Dari ask you, would you go and see this one again?
Yeah, I'd probably go.
Really?
Yeah, I'd probably go. I'd leave it a year and go and see it again. Definitely.
Fair enough. Oh, like props and costumes and stuff like that. Any particular? Do you want to give a shout out? Shall we say?
I'd say Katrina Lindsay is the biggest shout out I could say for the costumes because it was just spot on. And I don't even think it was aimed to be specific to the films, but it all worked and it all linked and everything was the same as the set design. I will sort of say Christine Jones as well for the set design because they were very faithful to the Harry Potter world. It was very faithful to all the things you've seen in the films and all the things you've imagined in the stories and the drawings that were put to it. I think it was all very faithful and it all felt part of that world.
Is there anything else you'd like to say that you haven't mentioned about this show that you want to without giving too much away?
Technically, it's a feat of genius, so it's worth going to see just to see how they pull it off because I think it's so well done and well put together.
But do you know what I'm not going to do?
What?
Go and see it and see how well they put it off.
Now ask me if there's any faux pas.
Now, Richard, was there any faux pas in this production? Did anything go wrong?
Yes.
Oh.
Sorry, didn't say that loud enough. Yes, there were.
We were doing so well there. So
there was,
1 out of 5 was a bit of a boo-boo. So what the heck happened? Which part of the play was it? The first half, the second half?
It was the first half.
Was it the first of the first half or
second of the first half? So basically, there was a scene where Ron, Hermione, and Harry used the transfiguration potion, where they actually change to another character. So shape-shifting, basically, they become another person for a short, limited time. And the scene is done with big cloaks, trapdoors, and the person changes from one cast member to another.
That sounds like a how did they do that?
How did they do
moment?
that? Yeah, that's how it is. So this is a little giveaway. However,
Yeah.
there was a changeover of the two characters, and the trapdoor got stuck on one of the cloaks.
Oh, they did a Madonna
So,
in a way.
and actually, a technician came out with a headset on. My biggest annoyance.
Not good, is it?
And Hermione and Ron had to stand next to each other to sort of hide the fact that he was there. But I was in row K and I could still see this technician.
They'd have been best just saying, "Look over there."
Yeah, exactly. They should have just So it was just a moment. It was out of 5.5 hours. It was definitely just a moment, but it was just noticeable that it just spoils the magic a little, because what should have happened is the change happened and he just walks off like nothing had happened. So that was it.
Fair enough. Right, scores on the doors then, Richard, for this production of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. See, I memorised that. I didn't even have to look at the programme.
I can only give it a 10.
Why am I not surprised?
It just deserved it.
Right, well, I'm not going to let you indulge in any more review of it. So, what sound effect will you be choosing from the following? A complete train wreck? Tumbleweed? An audible shrug of the shoulders? A slow clap? A pleasant applause? Or a standing ovation? What will it be?
Standing ovation. Can't do any more. It's got to be.
So, for someone like me who just doesn't want to involve themselves with a load of wizardry.
Well, every time
stuff.
you see Harry Potter, you cringe. That's it. That's what I'm getting from you. You just think, no, I'm not watching it.
Oh, it's just no. So, is it worth seeing for someone who doesn't know anything but who won't cringe? Do you think it's worth it?
I definitely think it would be, because it might even spark your interest in the rest of the sort of stories. It would help if you read the books, but it's not.
Do you know what? The movies didn't even spark any interest in me whatsoever.
And
it had Maggie Smith in it.
I know. Well, there you go.
And all the others.
Expelliarmus, you see.
Yeah, all the old thespians. I'm still... Anyway. Right. Now, I know we've had our top 5... Well, not even top 5, but the 5 you've seen. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just wondering, Richard, whilst you were there, was the one that you wanted to go and see? Or was there any other shows about?
Yeah. I mean, one thing I've seen, but I would never see again.
What's that?
It was Frozen.
Oh, is that still on now?
It's still on now.
Right, okay. You wouldn't go and see it?
No. I've seen it.
Right.
I wouldn't see it again.
Why?
Because it was...
What happened? Are you traumatised?
Well, let's just say I'll let it go. And it was a big, wet, warm puddle rather than what I expected. And also, what I will say, because I'm not going to review it because it's not worthy of it.
So you didn't build a snowman?
I didn't build a snowman. What I will say is, when an announcement comes on before the production starts, that you need to refrain from singing along to the production.
Okay.
And just sit back and enjoy it, I instantly got my back up and I thought, oh, what are we doing here? And that sort of set the tone for the rest of the production.
I'd imagine also put a great big distance between the audience and the actual play.
Yeah, really did.
Like, no, you're not here to enjoy it, just watch.
Just watch it. Don't sing along. So I thought that sort of sets the tone, and the additional songs didn't add anything to the production, and I just felt that it not worth the money the production isn't, and I think there'd be a lot of money spent by families to go and see something that actually should have been written better.
Well, did anything go wrong?
No.
There, just
Nothing
the whole
wrong.
atmosphere and the whole.
It just felt like they were trying to create another Wicked.
Okay.
Rather than being Frozen the production.
Right, so that's the one you would avoid.
I would avoid it, and I wouldn't go see it again.
Famous last words.
We need to put
that on a t-shirt, I think. Wow. So there we are for A Week in the West End, Part 5, with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. We hope you found it insightful.
If not, entertaining. Coming up over the next few episodes, you'll get to hear me take on the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and then me and Stephen resume our normal service by discussing the new musical, Identical.
That's it for this week, folks.
If you'd like to drop us a message, please email us at upstagedowstagepod@gmail.com. Remember, you can always join in the chat to share with us your views on a production.
Also, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you get every episode the second it's released. And we hope you join us again for another instalment of Upstage Downstage.